What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Counter-Strike Go edition of the Esports Breakdown. This is Hold the Door DFS. Welcome back. Today was a great day. If you stacked Vitality, paid the big price tag for Zai Wu, who had over 100 points. Started off with an ace, finished it with a knife. That was pretty awesome. If you have not gotten a chance to subscribe to the channel, please do that. Just for some clarification, if you go to our site and you can just sign up and register for an account and then go into the free rooms section, that will allow you in the Discord channel to enter in right now esports, which is at the moment free. So you can go in there and that's where the core plays will be posted. You can reach out to me on Twitter if you have issues getting into that. I will put my Twitter account in the comments or in the description below, so that way you can reach out if you have any questions. So we are going to have another 4-game slate tomorrow, excuse me. It does start a little bit later for those of you that want to sleep in, check your lineups, things like that. But let's jump into the action. Let's start out with our odds per usual. And right now I'm going to actually be using gg.bet just because Bovada is not currently showing the NIP game. I know people can use Pinnacle too as well. I don't mind using them, but gg.bet seems to always at least give me a line if it's on matches that I can't find that have to do with anything esports related. So NIP comes in at -250 against Godsent. Ents comes in at a pretty big underdog here against FaZe at -250. I know it's been really tough to trust FaZe and lately, but they are, as you see here, a pretty big favorite. And then we have G2, who's -526, the biggest favorite on the slate and likely the most popular 3-man stack against movie stars. The movie star riders, and then we have 100 Thieves, one North American game tomorrow against Team Liquid. Team Liquid a -185 favorite. I still think people will. We'll get to the builds, but I think there's some players on both sides that will be pretty intriguing just based on their prices. So let's hop in first to NIP and Godsent. On the NIP side, to me, they're all pretty underpriced, especially Plopsky and Knock. And I think even Hampus, 4.6K, I think he's viable punt when they're this big of a favorite. I mean, it's pretty tough to not pay off the price tag. Just kind of understand what you're sacrificing for that one roster spot. You probably are sacrificing some upside. And we on a slate that we don't have the Zai Wu of the slate, so I think he's definitely viable as a punt and super cheap, but I do like Plopsky and Knock as my favorite 2 NIP players in a really favored matchup for them against Godsent. On the Godsent side, Farlig at 9.6K is completely GPP only for me. If you want to stack them, you can definitely use Farlig. Styko is way too cheap at 6.4K. Zen and Madden, I mean, they're all these 3 kind of bunched together to me at below Farlig. So I think the pricing, I guess, is probably appropriate for how much of a gap there is between them, but I just don't think Farlig at 9.6K as a pretty big underdog is going to be good in cash games at least. So I like the NIP side here, definitely for cash. Obviously they're the favorite, but I think not only they're the favorite, but the prices are really reasonable. The G2 slate, which I think G2 will be one of the most popular stacks of the slate. The pricing is actually pretty good because I think it will be difficult for people to just play the top 3, even though I think that you want probably at least 2 of them. And it just a common theme for me when we get all 3 of these pretty closely priced together, especially in a really good matchup, it's just easiest to start with the 2 cheapest. You can also, if you get into some map performances and predicting the maps for these players, you might see certain performances by individual players look better. And if you find a edge in that, then I think that's definitely a way to go. That's one reason I always check out Sean's map pool article. on Fantasy Alarm. I think he does a phenomenal job, and again, is really trying to grow the esports industry. So I would start with Nexa and Hunter, but you can certainly stack all three, just depending on how, when we get to our other builds here and other players and who you're looking to fill in the gaps with. Movie star, pass. Let's go to Ents and FaZe. Start on the favorite side. Remember, FaZe is minus 250. Nico at 10-2. This, I think, is a fadeable spot for sure. Nico just doesn't, and I know I've been wrong about this in the past. Then he's played better lately, but 10-2 for Nico needs, to me, that he needs to have more of an outlier performance compared to recent form, where I think Zaiwu could basically have like an average or above average performance and feel pretty good about that kind of price tag. I just think there's too likely of a chance that he scores like 65 or less, where I feel like Zaiwu's floor is like 70 or 80. And then obviously today he showed the upside of 100 plus. So this would be a spot that I would definitely be fading Nico, because I do like the G2 players spot better. But I think Brokey and Coldzera are a 100% in play, are way too cheap here. The matchup with Ents is not a gimme by any means, because we know Alu is an elite player, but the rest of the team is pretty below average in terms of DFS. So not somebody I'm really targeting here. Anyone on Ents, you could take a stance on Alu just because how cheap he is, but I would definitely be focusing on Coldzera and Brokey for FaZe. In this matchup, we have Team Liquid. Let's start with Team Liquid at a minus 185. Elige is 9K. Here's an example where, even as a slightly less of an underdog, I prefer Elige for the price drop compared to Nico. And then NAF at 8,400 is viable, but I really like Twist for 6,800 in this matchup. I have nothing wrong with NAF or Elige, but I think you're going to be deciding between NAF in a much closer matchup, and then probably with a G2 player. So if you like NAF over Kenny S, or if you like NAF over Hunter, then you can definitely make that 1-for-1 swap. But I think those are the decisions you're going to have to be making here on this slate. On the 100 Thieves side, they, no matter, if they were favored, the pricing wouldn't be that much different, because they just always are priced this low and this cheap. JKS is phenomenal and is way too cheap at 7,200. Saying that, I think he's a viable one-off in cash, but I still don't really love attacking underdogs in cash games, unless there's just a clear misprice, which I do think he's mispriced. But if you're comparing him with playing, say, Coldzera in a much better matchup, I think in cash you likely would lean Coldzera just for the likely outcome of them winning and having a positive game script. Then Gratisfaction and Jakim are always viable. I think here in the showdown, you probably look to go a 2-2. If I remember the pricing right, you could maybe get like Elige captain, but then have to use like Twist instead of NAF. And then you can still use like JKS and Jakim. So I think that would be a build that would definitely be viable in the showdown. So just kind of going back, kind of what my core and my starting point will be is probably something along the lines of this, and then kind of filling in from there. At least one of these FaZe players, maybe not both, but at least one. And then if you're even looking to do, so say you went back to G2 and you put Kenny S as your captain, now you actually really need, a pretty cheap punt here. So using Kenny S at captain, where if you use somebody like Coldzera at captain and then add Kenny S, now you're looking at somebody a little bit more reasonable. If we go to all games now and you go down to 6,200, Aminex, a big favorite for G2. So you have more options that way. if you want to stack those. Again, you do not need a 3-stack G2, but they are the biggest favorite, so I think that will be a popular strategy, just at least with potentially sweeping. So that's kind of where I'd start. Play around with the Bills. There's a lot of really nice price players on here, and I didn't even touch on NIP. You could drop one of those G2 players to Plopsky, and then you can play twists, because then you can upgrade that flex spot. Instead of paying 6,200, you would be able to get up to twists at 6,800. So that would be a viable option as well. So hopefully these videos help you build optimal lineups that you can use in both GPP and cash games. I really grind out cash today. And it feels good when you play against other high stakes players, when myself and BK Ryder both had the same exact lineup with Zaiwu at captain. But it came down to a 1v1, and I had RPK and he had Nico for heroic. See, so that in that case, I just would rather be on the favorite side. They could have swept. They kind of threw map 2 Mirage back to heroic in the second half. But had they just swept, then it wouldn't have been close at all. It did end up being a 3-point difference because Nico was the top fragger for heroic on Inferno. But I don't think that it was cash play to go to Nico over RPK, just as an underdog, as a pretty big underdog. Vitality, I think, closed at -220 or -250. So that's just kind of my style and where I like to go in cash games. So it's worked really well, and I think that's a strategy that most sharp players are deploying. So I don't think it's reasonable to get too cute in cash, but I think in GPPs, with CSGO being such a high variance sport, there's a lot of ownership leverage that you can just stack that cheap side of 100 Thieves, or stack Godsent for pretty reasonable against a volatile NIP team. So that's where I'm going to be at today. Again, hit that subscribe button. I'll put our link to our website and my Twitter account in the comments below. Feel free to leave a comment or a lineup question. Hit me up on Twitter. If you want help getting into the Discord channel, just send me a direct message and I can help you get there. All right. Have a good one.